as of 24 hours ago, there was a crazy play that I'm sure Justin isn't too big of a fan of. As you can see in the top right of his corner, he has the Luke Kornet jersey. Wembanyama was looking had a viral play going to the rim, pushing him to the side, looked like a pure hybrid of Kevin Durant and Shaquille O'Neal going to the rim. What was the well, first off, we want to say how jealous of as Celtics fans we are of you guys being able to have open scrimmages in the arena. That seems like a complete
Free
and
too.
utter
Yeah.
free opportunity for fans to come together and be able to enjoy the team and be able to have those introductory moments to the team. But from what you saw yesterday in that opening scrimmage, it's looking like there's a new outlook to this team, and also there's been a lot of improvements within Wembanyama's game and had a lot of mentors throughout the
Yeah,
offseason.
the open scrimmage is a really great idea. They've been doing it for a little while, at least here in San Antonio, and I know some other teams do it around the league too. It was a different energy in there, I think, from last year because the Spurs fans hadn't seen Victor in 6 months or whatever it was, right? That last game was February, right before the All-Star break. So it had been a while. And so the anticipation of just seeing him out there, we had known he's been healthy. The coaching staff has told us that. The fans have heard that. But to actually see it is another thing. And yes, that move did come against Luke Kornet, little shove, get out of my way, and then dunked it literally like Shaquille O'Neal. It was just like, I'm back. I'm going to have a phenomenal season. Like, that was just sort of what was emulating off of him, right, from that moment. And the energy in the building was great. I mean, I think there was like almost 12,000 people there, and it was free. So the Spurs did a great job of putting on a great show. They made the rookies do karaoke after the game, and that was entertaining. And it was just fun to see some of the newcomers. Now, there were some guys that didn't play. De'Aaron Fox is dealing with an issue. Dylan Harper is injured right now, the number 2 pick, so we didn't see him. A couple other guys didn't suit up, but it's sort of all revolved around seeing Victor healthy, and it's viral, as you said. And we did like a stream of it. I was doing just sort of color for like half the thing. I was popping on. Dan Weiss, our radio guy, was handling the play-by-play, and I was talking about something completely different than Wemby, and all of a sudden he just blows down the court and does that. So I was like, oh, whoa, and just like that's all you could say, because it was like his first big play since he's been back.
And we see all the highlight reels of Wemby. We see him in games, and every time I see him, it's just one of the more entertaining basketball players to watch out of just the whole plethora of basketball players available in the world, EuroLeague, CBA, everywhere, NBA, obviously. But from your perspective on the sidelines, what has been the most entertaining component of covering Victor Wembanyama so far?
I don't know if there's one specific thing. I think it's the whole deal. It's the whole package. He's so unique. He's such a smart 21-year-old person. It is unbelievable. We had interviews with him a couple weeks ago for our content day, where we can use interviews for different stuff on the broadcast or pregame show or whatever. And we got into this like 5-minute discussion about space, and like, he is so in on space and reading. He loves reading. He's always got a book in his hand. Like, Jokic gave him a lot of crap for having a book in the All-Star game locker room last year. Like, all the off-court stuff is super interesting. On-court, it speaks for itself. He's unlike anyone the league has ever seen. He can play like Kevin Durant. He can go down and play like Shaq. He can shoot the three. Like, the 50-point game night, he took 16 threes and made 8 of them. Like, what? He's, he does something every single night where you just can't describe it. You gasp. And I look over at Sean Elliott, who's my partner, who's seen 24 years of Spurs games as an announcer, plus playing for the Spurs and winning a championship.
Right.
And we just
There's a lot of Spurs basketball.
Seems
we just look over and we're like, WTF? Like, what is going on? And for me, it's just super exciting to try and bring that energy and enthusiasm and meet the moment of anything he does. And so whether it's a crazy dunk or a big three or a 50-point game, it's all in one. And he's a super special person. He's starting this new fan section that the Spurs are going to have in their arena every single home game, kind of like what you see in Europe, a supporter section in soccer. His favorite soccer team is PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and he went over there in the summer and was like, you know what, I want to start this for the Spurs. And so last night was our first glimpse at it. There was a bugle horn or whatever you call it, and there was a drum, and like it's going to grow over time and like hopefully turn into something that's like nonstop craziness inside the arena. So he just always is thinking of ways to invent new things, both on and off the court. He worked with Kevin Garnett this summer. Obviously, like for me, that was super cool to hear and see the picture of. I'm like, I grew up idolizing KG. He worked with Hakeem Olajuwon this summer too. So he's just hitting all areas of life. He's winning life, as I would put it.
I want to shift this conversation to Luke Kornet, not just because I like to call myself, a Kornetic, like a fanatic, but of Luke Kornet.
That is the first time I've ever heard that. I gotta say, Kornetic.
We gotta trademark that.
I'll trademark it ASAP. But no, I love Luke Kornet and what he brought to Boston and this championship team. And just really quick, we'll get to your thoughts on Luke Kornet, but like for me, I wasn't around when Bill Walton was a Celtic, but that's about the last time I think the Celtics have had a backup big man who could provide such a humongous role on a championship team. So I do make that comparison a little bit, when we talk about the significance of a role that Luke Kornet played, and we talk about, Bill Walton in the 80s with the Celtics just for those couple of years, and he immediately made a huge impact with the team. And that's kind of what Luke Kornet was with the Celtics team, right? Like he came in a dominant three-point shooter, a perimeter threat, like one of the greatest college three-point shooters of all time, played in New York, Chicago, stretched the floor, hit 7 threes in a game for New York, comes to Boston, started shooting threes. We're talking about a high pick and roll player now, playing that low dunker spot. How excited are you for this acquisition for the San Antonio Spurs? I mean, Luke Kornet, that's a big time free agent signing. You might not be thinking that about 2 years ago, but now coming off a championship, Luke Kornet coming to the San Antonio Spurs to either back up Victor Wembanyama or put alongside Victor Wembanyama, that's one hell of a pickup for you guys this offseason.
And Olynyk.
Yeah, and 2 former Celtics coming to the Alamo City, which is again just a guy growing up watching the C's. That's cool. And now that I'm affiliated with the Spurs and all in on the Spurs, like that's amazing to see. I think Luke is, you guys know, I mean, superb individual, funny as heck, great locker room guy, great interview. Loved getting to know him over the last couple of days. And he fits in super well. And I the big question is like, are they going to play them together, Victor and Luke? And Luke has said they did. They've already tried it in practice. So 2 7-footers out there is wild and going to be fun and interesting because the Spurs defense, basically the first third of the season was actually their strength, and then it dipped down. Obviously, you lose Victor after the All-Star break, like that's going to hurt you. So they were 25th in defensive rating. So and Victor led the league in blocks. So without having played half the year, which is crazy.
I was just going to say he played half the year.
So someone to spell him now as a backup or play together is something that they just haven't had the last couple of years. Dan and I were talking about it on the broadcast last night. He mentioned the word depth, and it's just something that they haven't seen here in a couple of years. It's been a while since they made the playoffs, and there's all this excitement now that they have guys that they can go to off the bench that have experience, that have won big games, that have been in, like Luke Kornet, been in the NBA Finals and won it. You can bring that experience to the locker room is great, and just his rim presence on both ends. Last night, you just lob it up to him. He puts it up quick. Like I love that about Luke. He's always just quick hands, lay it up and in, and so I just think it's a perfect fit. And he doesn't have to play a ton of minutes. Like he can come in and he'll be happy with whatever, right? So it's a perfect fit. And Olynyk, the same thing. Olynyk, the shooting, a career year from 3 last year. The Spurs need 3-point shooting. They need people out on the perimeter when Wembanyama's down there so he can kick it out and they can spray him. Or if he gets an offensive rebound, kick it out, spray him. They lack the 3-point shooting. That is known. Everyone knows that around the league. That's why people are questioning, can Fox, Castle, and Dylan Harper all play together? Their shooting numbers aren't the greatest. So if you have guys like Barnes, Olynyk, that can knock down threes while those other guys are out there, Wemby, like it's going to make sense. And so I think picking those two guys up, A+.
I wonder, and I want to, kind of get your thought on this, but I wonder what role Luke Kornet is going to play with the San Antonio Spurs. And the reason I say that is because, I mentioned before with New York, with Chicago, he was primarily a 3-point threat. He comes into Boston these last specifically 2 years. We haven't seen any 3-point shooting out of him. I mean, his attempts are way down. And he's turned into this kind of, like you said, rim protector on defense, quick around the rim on offense. Is there any chance that have you seen any experimenting of Luke Kornet extending his game back out to the 3-point shot? Or do you think that this is something where, okay, he runs that high pick and roll well, he plays around the rim well, and this is why we brought Kelly Olynyk in. So when Luke Kornet can play that rim running center and Kelly Olynyk could be the one off the bench who brings that perimeter shooting. What are your thoughts on that and those two guys specifically, but their roles with this team going forward?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see he didn't take a 3 last night in the scrimmage, and if you're going to take a 3, I feel like that's the time to do it. Just because it's kind of a low stakes type thing, and the crowd's there. So if you make one, then they're going to go bonkers. So he didn't take one. So I don't know if that's a sign. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I think for him, number one is the defense. Like if the defense, and that's the whole team though. Mitch Johnson comes in. He was here last year, filling in for Pop, young coach, taking over, and they want to start with a defensive mindset. If you go inside the practice facility, defense is all over the place. So that's why Luke was brought in, I think, mainly for defense. And if you can be around the rim and be an option on offense as well, that'll be great. Maybe he takes a couple threes. I don't know. Yeah. They let the other 7-foot guy shoot 16 of them. So let him fly. Why not? If he's going to be successful at it, let's go. Let's do it. But I think it's the defense that's really going to be his primary thing, cleaning up on the offensive glass, little lobs here and there. Yeah. I think that's probably where he'll fit in, but I wouldn't be surprised if he jacks up a couple, but he didn't last night. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's clearly a lot of optimism surrounding the Spurs this season. What do you believe is a realistic goal for the Spurs this upcoming season? What do you believe the outlook is for the team from where they finish at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, you ask the players or you ask Coach Mitch, they just want to start feeling that winning feeling again and getting better. I mean, they made progress last year, and it was sort of stalled because of Victor's blood clot and all the other things that happened with the Spurs. I mean, there was so much that happened last year, and it was my first year, and it was insanity.
It was a packed year.
But that's just the way the NBA goes, right? It's a long season, stuff happens. But I think their general manager, Brian Wright, has talked about having this maturity that there hasn't been there in the last couple of years. And they are young still. You have Wembanyama, you have Castle, you have Harper. Fox is 9 years in or whatever, but he's still younger. And so, but they're mature because they've gone through stuff early on. Keldon Johnson's been there. He's the longest tenured Spur. He hasn't seen a ton of winning, but he has a chance to, if they do win, put himself in that 6th man of the year conversation. Devin Vassell's been around, as a proven 20-point per game scorer. These guys have seen a lot in the league. They just haven't seen that winning. So if they translate that, the team isn't putting we have to make the playoffs this year, or we have to be the 3 seed, or we have to be the 5th seed. They're not thinking about it that way. And so I just think if you see a improvement on the defensive side with the shooting, late game executions, I think they were under 500 in clutch games. So if at the end of games, if you see a massive improvement like that, that's where you're going to see this team take the next step. And Harrison Barnes talked about it on media day too, guys. He was asked, is this team ready to win? And he said, yes. Now in the West, you could win 40-ish or 5 games, still might not be good enough to make the playoffs. It's going to be super hard this year because the West is loaded. If you're in the East, it's a totally different conversation. That's why I think the Celtics still have a shot to be, decent is because the East is weak and they still have stars, right? They still have good players. So it'll be interesting to watch this team progress. I think there's not pressure at the start of the year. I think there's a ton of change. The coaching staff, there's a couple new additions for Coach Mitch. New players are coming in, so it may take a month or two to really feel the improvement. But this team will get rolling, I think. And if they are in that playoff conversation, I would assume Victor is going to be in the MVP conversation because his numbers are going to be that good. So that's I think how the organization is looking at it. Just improve and get better and start winning with impact.